What's going on, guys? It's your boy Motorman Dan, and today we're going to be talking about the game called Emberward. Now, Emberward is sort of roguelike in the idea that as you play, you unlock more stuff, and it, joins you, and then you get to use it for later missions. Kind of one of the unique parts about this is it has a Tetris-style mazing system. So instead of normal walls that you might place, which takes up one grid square for whatever game it is, this actually has Tetris style pieces that end up taking up that space. So you kind of have to mix and match and fit them into certain arrangements. And there are some towers that require certain areas to be filled with these spots, and so kind of planning ahead how you want that to look it's a pretty cool addition. It's a fun game for sure. One of my more favorite tower defense games that I found doing this whole tower defense series. But let's jump into the ratings here. So for towers, I gave it a 7. I gave it a 7 and not a 10 because you don't get to play with all of the towers all the time. You do have to pick and choose. But I do think it has a very good variety of towers to choose from. If you had, of course, like a standard tower defense game where you could build any of the towers, then great. But in this video behind me, you'll see that we went with mostly arcane. And so these long-range shooty towers are, I think they're kind of a new I don't remember them being there before when I played this initially. And I know they've done quite a few updates since I've played it initially. But yeah, you don't get to play with all the towers that are in the game. You just get to pick some of them. But they do have a lot of good towers. So it's a 7 out of 10 just because you don't get to actually use them all. For enemies, I give it an 8 out of 10. I think that it's a good roster of enemies. It's easy to tell the difference between the different enemies. I don't see a lot of uniqueness as far as jumping over towers or changing the map on you or anything. I don't know. I think there could be some additional stuff, and there is still going to be some stuff that's going to be released in the game. The game is not technically finished, but yeah, I feel like the enemies are really, really good, just maybe not as they're almost there, and maybe there's going to be more enemy types and more enemies and stuff coming out in the futures. And I didn't play the 2 additional game modes, so there's probably different enemies in those biomes that you can unlock. But it might still struggle with a little bit of the same of enemies just being an 8 out of 10 for me. Progression, 8 out of 10. There's a couple of different progression methods. So you go through and play each map until you get to the final map where there's a boss, which is really cool. And then that piece is complete. And then once you've completed that, then you unlock the next area. And then you can play that one, unlock the next area. So you're kind of playing different maps. But if you were to go back and play through it again, you play the same map. So the same first map is the first map. The second map is the second map. There's just different modifiers on it, which is fine. I actually like that. The fact that the maps themselves aren't random, I do like that. Because that's more in line with the tower defense game. But after that progression, you also have your account level progression. So every time you win, you get these points that you get to use to do some permanent outside of the game upgrades that help you within the game as you're playing through these missions. So there's that as well. So the progression, it is somewhat linear. Not necessarily typical, but it still does have pretty decent progression, I think, for a tower defense game. So for that, I give it an 8 out of 10. For the special enemies, 10 out of 10. They have little mini bosses, or I guess I should say the enemies that look like promoted version of other enemies have special abilities. So for example, the wolf. You have regular wolves, and then you have the promoted wolf, which is like a werewolf, that can disable the traps around him. I think it's once he meets a certain threshold of health or something. I think that's really neat. Let's see, what else? And the bosses, yeah. At the end of each session, you fight a boss, and the boss is really cool as well. So, special enemies, I give that one a 10 out of 10. For the resource, I give it a 5 out of 10. You get end of round waves. You get to choose to pick up some coins in your treasure chest. And you get money from killing enemies, but there's really nothing else that gives you money. There's no like special towers. There's no investment. There's no additional strategy. There's no strategy involved around getting money. I should say it's just part of the game. Is that you'll just earn the money as you play. So resource, you know, it's there, but it's nothing special. 5 out of 10. The micro pacing, there are hotkeys for this stuff. And the pacing of the game is fine. I think it's a very easy tower defense game to get into, and it's a very fun tower defense game to get into, and I think the micro to pacing ratio is on point, so I give it a 10 out of 10 for that. The macro play is also 10 out of 10, and there's not always something macro you can do, but generally you can find these upgrades for your towers, these temporary upgrades, and you can place them on the towers to make them more powerful, maybe make them do freeze damage or fire damage or whatever, and you can place these maze tiles while the game is playing, and you can place towers, of course, while the game is playing, but that will allow you to potentially like continue to route enemies even while the enemies are coming out. For map design, it's a 10 out of 10. It's a little bit of a puzzle, but at the same time, you kind of make the map yourself. Some of the maps that are more open, like the final boss map of the first session, it's a very open map, and you can do a lot with that. So being able to basically kind of create your own map on the map templates that they have, I think it's pretty cool. So I give the map design, and there's plenty of maps to play through. So I give the map design a 10 out of 10. For the strategy combat, it's pure strategy, 10 out of 10 on that. And replayability, I also give it a 10 out of 10. It's not completed yet. They're still doing... there's an obvious roadmap, I should say, for it. But I enjoyed playing it the first time I played it, and I enjoyed playing it again. I was like, oh man, you know, I could see myself, you know, going back and playing the new areas that have been unlocked and opened up. And for the price, I give it a 4 out of 10. So 5 is just right. I think it's a little bit too expensive at $15. Once it's completed, I think 15 is the right price. So if you buy it now, you're kind of buying it without it being completed for a completion price, which is $15. So if you can get it on sale, get it on sale. It's on sale as I'm recording this video, probably for about the right price. It's like 10% off, so I think it's like $13 or something, 13.5. But yeah, let me know if you played it before, if you like it, if you don't like it, why not? And as always, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you on the flip side. Deuces.